Do rich people deserve their wealth? It's a big question. And we have a poll that suggests that the opinions across the world are split over this big issue. And they're split, frankly, in the US as well, where inequality is a big theme in the political campaign. With us to discuss this, Ben Casselman. Thank you, Ben, for being with us. You've seen the poll. I've got to warn you before we go into the national differences that I'm Italian, so be careful what you say about the Mediterranean countries' attitude to wealth. But tell us what the poll says.
Yeah, the Europeans have a very different attitude from the sort of Anglo-Saxon countries. So this is obviously a huge topic of conversation around the world right now. We've seen it in Occupy Wall Street. We've seen it everywhere. And the evidence is that most people around the world apparently do not think that the rich deserve their wealth.
Here we see the actual part of the poll. You see, in Australia, Canada, and the US, you have a pretty high percentage of people saying, yes, they deserve it. And then, but you were saying that actually elsewhere, it's a different story.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, the Anglo-Saxon countries have generally 61% in Australia, you know, close to 60% in the US and Canada. If you look in Europe, if you look in Latin America, the numbers are much smaller. If you look around the world, the average came out to kind of around 43%, so a little under 50. But as you say, I mean, kind of split down the middle, and that's kind of true around the world.
And so, is it an issue about the level of corruption, the way the wealthy are portrayed in those countries? I mean, what is it? What accounts for the national differences?
Well, so that's a really interesting point. If you look in the developed world, you sort of see that it kind of follow some of these cultural norms, right, like we were talking about. But if you look in the developing world, it has a lot to do with growth. If you look at China, you look at India, you look at Indonesia, fast-growing countries, they actually seem to have a pretty high degree of confidence that their wealthy deserve their wealth. And that's not that big a surprise, right? Their economies are growing quickly, there's opportunities there.
What about
for you to
Greece?
rise.
Greece's numbers are 9%. That's 9%. A very small number.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're at the absolute bottom. Russia also very low. And so that would seem to suggest that corruption really becomes an issue if your economy is not growing quickly, or in the case of Greece, shrinking very quickly.
And what about over here? Inequality of wealth is a big issue in the political campaign, the presidential campaign, of course, given who's running.
Yep.
How do we see, how can we interpret these poll results, and how it may influence the campaign?
So what we see in the U.S. is that it's about 58% say that the rich in the U.S. do deserve their wealth. That's pretty much unchanged from when they asked a similar question back in 2008. Now, I haven't seen any data from what people would have said back in, say, 2000, but you have to suspect that things may have changed a little bit there.
But that suggests, though, that the American dream, the idea that you grow up and pull yourself up to your bootstraps, is still alive in the United States.
Certainly in comparison to Greece, say, it seems like it is. But still, I mean, we're talking about a substantial percentage of the American population that apparently does not believe that most wealthy people got their wealth through their own doing.
And so it's interesting.
Or deserved it, I should say.
Right, and that's interesting. And how do you think that will play out in the campaign? Because Mitt Romney is a wealthy individual who makes no excuses
well, hey,
about
they're
his wealth.
both pretty rich people at this point, right?
Right.
We'll see. I mean, it's hard to know. Clearly, it's a major topic of conversation. It's something that came up a lot last year with Occupy Wall Street. It's something that the president hit on in his State of the Union address. Whether that actually plays out in the campaign, I guess we'll see in November.
And looking at the numbers in places like Greece, Russia, but also the other European countries, does that tell us of a deeper malaise fueled by the economic slowdown in those countries? There is a breakdown in the social fabric there between rich and poor?
Well, what it seems to suggest is that if you want people to believe that there are opportunities for everyone, you have to have growth in those countries. In China, right, supposedly communist China, right, people are willing to say most of the rich here deserve what they got, even though they score very poorly on measures of corruption. But it's serious economic growth. If you look in Greece, somewhere with terrible economic growth, right, economic contraction at this point, then it's a lot harder for people who are not wealthy to feel like the people who are rich are deserving.
Absolutely.